Oh, thank you.
No problem.
Thanks.
All right, y'all. What's going on, man? This is Anthony Presley. Welcome to Loaded Podcast. You know, the show where everything is fair game. And we got a special guest in the house today. You know, I copped one of these books. She was out on the grind. And make sure y'all cop one too. We'll give you the info later on. Confirmation, Affirmation, and Small Quotes for Healing. Destiny Chambers. What up, what up?
What's up, everybody? Happy to be joining with Anthony today on Loaded Podcast. Everything's great.
That's what's up, man. So I definitely was checking this book out, and it's definitely it's jam packed, man. Some good info, good stuff in there.
Thanks.
And what I like about it too is like it's not just you just telling people stuff, man. You had your own experiences and stuff too.
Right.
You went through a lot of stuff before you got to this point.
Right.
So let's talk about a little bit of that. Like you can speak on a little bit of what you went through, and then what was the point that you decided to like get out of that? Like what helped you get out of that mode to start doing better with yourself?
So I realized that, my state of being was at an all-time low. Like I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping right, I was getting sick. I didn't want to be around people. Like I just pretty much put myself in this shell. And it was due to a couple of losses that I had, material things like I couldn't go to school anymore. I lost my job. Like I was living somewhere. That situation was messed up. I was dealing with someone at the time, and that situation crumbled.
Man.
So everything was coming down at the same time, and I realized that I was depressed. Because I was seeing things and doing things that I wouldn't normally do. So I was like, for the first time, I actually felt what depression was, and it's a serious thing. And I know a lot of people go through this on a regular, and it's something that you can heal from, though. So I started looking into ways to heal myself and ways to get up out of it, because it was literally like depression will literally kill you.
Yeah,
like it brings you down to your lowest, brings you down to your knees, and if you stay stuck in it, waddle in it, it makes it worse. It just gets worse and worse. So I started looking for ways to kind of dig myself out of the hole. So at first I was looking into like motivational speeches. I looked into this dude named Ralph Smart, and it was another lady named Shamika Daniels. I was watching her on YouTube, and I started doing that. Then that turned into affirmations. Then it turned into meditation. Then it turned into looking for better ways to eat. So it was a long journey, a long process. That started in 2018.
Okay.
So up until that point, it was just me kind of practicing those things that I had started acquiring, and then it turned into a book. Like literally, when I started writing, it wasn't meant to be a book. Like I was just personally writing to myself, and then I wrote so much that I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make this a book.
Do something with this, yeah. Yeah, that's cool right there, man. So definitely looking it through, and I like how the book is broken down. So I'm gonna go over some few things that was in there. We can talk about. You start off with the whole healing part of it, and one of the affirmations, putting yourself first.
Right.
Let's talk about that, because you gotta definitely look at putting yourself first in the right perspective. Because some people might think, being selfish, but that's not where you're coming from when you talk about put yourself first. Let's explain a little bit of that, putting yourself first, how that's important.
So putting yourself first is important because you can't expect someone to treat you a certain type of way or expect people to look at you a certain type of way if you don't put yourself in that position first. So you have to first respect yourself, first treat yourself right, first love yourself, first care for yourself in order for anybody else to return those things to you. So I realized that through my healing process that a lot of the stuff that I went through was because of my own perspective of myself. And I wasn't treating myself right. I wasn't giving myself the proper care and the proper things that I needed. So I couldn't expect anyone else to do it. And I learned that through my healing process, because I was like, as I changed and as I got better, everything else around me changed. My circumstances and everything else got better as well. So
yeah, that's dope right there. Yeah, you definitely gotta focus on yourself, because I know you mentioned too about giving too much to others.
Yes.
It's like that could drain you, because you're putting so much out, but then it's like when you need something, there's no shoulder for you to lean on. So that's definitely important.
Right.
And then another thing you talked about in that healing section is my heart is open to forgive. Now, talk about forgiveness as far as how you feel about it, because when somebody really hurts somebody, it is really hard for a person to forgive. And then I've read up on things like that, and I know sometimes it's not always about the other person when you speak about forgiving. I guess it's more helpful to you. So speak a little bit about that.
So when I looked into forgiveness, it took me a long time to get over the situation, and a lot of the stuff that I went through was personal. Like it didn't even have anything to do with someone else. So I looked at forgiving myself because I was like, all along, all this time, I was treating myself unfairly. So I had to look into, forgiving myself, because only when you forgive yourself can you move past it. Like you can't hold on to it and down yourself for what you have gone through in the past. You have to get over it, and I think that starts with forgiveness. So forgiveness is a really hard task, but it's like a process, and you just forgive yourself little by little, and then you move on to the next thing and start forgiving. And then once you forgive yourself, you can forgive other people.
Right. Yeah, because that's definitely a hard thing too. Like especially like if somebody really did hurt you and you hold on to that hurt.
And it's harder to forgive someone else than it is to forgive yourself. Because like with yourself, you give yourself a little bit more leeway, and you're like, okay, I did this, but it's not gonna happen again. But with someone else, it's like, especially if you plan on still dealing with that person, it's like you gotta be able to move past what they've done, and not judge them, and communicate with them and interact with them from a place of like hurt still. So it's like you gotta communicate with them and deal with them from a place from like a healed place. Yeah. So it's hard. It takes a lot of time, but you can do it.
And then also, let's see, healing is my choice. Speak on that, because a lot of people, I mean, it makes sense. So a lot of people don't. It's hard for them to get to that space, because when they go through something, they kind of stay in that mode for a while. So just speak on what that means to you, as far as healing being a choice.
Right. So you mentioned that when people go through things, they hold on to it and they kind of stay in that position. But the only way to move forward and get better is if you have to choose that. Like everything in life is a choice. So if you don't choose to heal, then you're gonna stay hurt. Like you gotta make the decision and be dedicated towards that decision of healing. It's like any other choice that you would make in life. Like if I want to start going to the gym, I got to dedicate myself to that choice and to that decision. And it's the same thing with healing. Like if you don't want to stay in a stuck place, in a hurt place, in a dark place, you got to choose to heal, or else you're just gonna keep going through that same pattern, going through that same motion.
Right. Yeah. It's rough. You definitely gotta be headstrong and find a way to make it out of it. And an interesting thing when it came to the healing, the affirmations. Speak on the differences from your view on healing, as far as when you say my body and my soul healing. Some people, I know they're kind of one and the same, but how are they different? Like healing the body, how is that important, as well as healing the soul? Like both of them being healed together.
So that's a really good question, Anthony. I have a lot of people, like, how I met you. I was selling my book in front of a store. And I do a lot of my sales like that, in-person sales, and a lot of people ask me, so what do you focus on healing? And I tell them that it works for everything. So as far as healing the body, of course, the body is physical. So when it comes to chronic illnesses, or you just being sick, or just having a common cold, speaking health over your life can change that. The power of the tongue is incredible. Sometimes you can speak death over your body by claiming, like you calling stuff as it is. So like if you're feeling sick and you say, man, I feel so sick, that's causing your body to react in a certain way and react to your words. So if you say, man, I feel good today, man, I'm gonna go for a jog today, man, I'm gonna feed my body healthily today, that actually affects your body in a positive way. So as far as healing the body, that works. And then as far as healing the soul, it also works in a way that is more, it's more like spiritual than physical. So when it's spiritual, you think of it as something that would be easier as opposed to speaking things to your body. But when you're speaking to your soul, you also just putting those words out there, putting those positive vibes out there, putting those positive affirmations out there, and it just helps your soul to feel better. It helps your whole being to vibrate on a certain level. So your body and your soul and your mind responds to everything that you say.
Right. Okay. Definitely. Now, what about? You kind of touched on this with the healing is a choice, but I have complete control over my happiness.
Yes.
How would you advise somebody going through something to think that way and try to control, the environment that they're in to not let them be like, in a negative state.
Yeah. See, and that's something that I work with daily. Because in order to achieve that, you got to be patient. You got to be super patient with yourself and with others. So you got to make up in your mind that no matter what is going on, no matter what my circumstance is, I'm going to be happy. So my advice to someone who would like to be more happy is just choose the higher route all the time. Like sometimes they say they call this being a bigger person, but literally what that does for you is more important than what it could ever do for anybody else. So being a bigger person isn't about satisfying the needs of someone else or about making yourself look, like the bigger person. It's about maintaining your happiness and maintaining your peace within, and not let anything disturb that. So my advice would be to, just always choose a higher route, and just always choose to be happy no matter what.
Right. Okay. Now the next one, when you start speaking on patterns in the book, and it's funny how you use the example about finding time to go to the gym, because I recently was dealing with that myself when I was like, I want to stick to working out, and I wanted to go to a gym instead of doing it at home.
Yeah.
And it was hard because of my work schedule and got kids, but
yeah,
it makes sense how you have to try to find that time, because I just I realized, well, I have early morning time, so I just had to dedicate it.
Yeah.
So I never would have thought, thinking back, that I would ever be getting up at 6 in the morning to do anything besides go to work.
Yeah.
So that definitely makes sense. And when you speak on patterns and trying to include new things and keep going, and you touch on resistance and how that can cause missed opportunities. What did you mean? What do you mean by that? Let's talk about that a little bit, as far as people resisting and missing possible opportunities.
Yes. So one thing that I've learned about opportunities is that they always come, but sometimes you want to catch them when they're right there. So if you're constantly, you got to be aligned with what's trying to come in for you. So if you're not aligned with it, then you're pretty much resisting it. So in the way that you become aligned with it is to increase your awareness and to seek opportunity, but also be ready to receive them when they come, so that you're not declining them, or it doesn't. Sometimes they come as things you don't dress as things you wouldn't normally do, or it doesn't look like how you expect it to look like. But you always want to at least see what it is and give it a chance, because you never know what could happen and what doors could open for you. So you don't want to when the universe is sending you things, you don't want to resist them because they because based off of your perception of how they should have looked, or how it should have been done. You just want to kind of go with it and see what happens.
Right. Okay. You think people? Why do you think people would probably resist the opportunity? You think they just may not recognize it, how you said, as something how they want it to be, or think maybe they're not ready for the opportunity? Maybe they overhype themselves.
Yeah.
They're not quite ready. What would you think? Will cause people to do that, and what should they focus on to be able to not miss those opportunities?
So, the main thing, as humans, we want things to be our way. We want things to look a certain type of way. We want things to be a certain type of way. We already have these idea of how things should be, or how they should look and how they should go. And I think that's the main thing. Even speaking from my own experience, the main thing for me was things coming to me, but they're not looking the way I wanted them to look. And I'm just like, nah, I'm not gonna do that, because this is not what I asked for, type of thing. But then I realized that a lot of things that you ask for that you're expecting, they're gonna come disguised as things that you wouldn't normally do, or they're not gonna look the way you would want them to look. So, my advice would be just to take opportunities as they come. Just follow your gut, because your gut will tell you whether it's a good or a bad decision. But as far as how they look, don't judge. That's what they say. Don't judge a book by its cover, because you never know what kind of opportunities and what kind of possibilities come from, certain situations. So I would say just take everything with a grain of salt. Listen to your gut, first and foremost. But just even if something doesn't look the way that something doesn't seem the way that it appears, still go for it and still try to see what it's about.
It may lead to what you're actually trying to get into. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's talk about. You touched on the Most High answering prayers that may be disguised.
Mm-hmm.
How could somebody have the awareness to kind of see through that? It may be a blessing or something you prayed for.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of falls into resistance too. But how can they not miss those? Like, what type of things can they do to keep focus on what blessings could be coming their way?
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to awareness, like say you an avid prayer or you're an avid meditator, or you like when you ask like the most high questions, that's considered a form of prayer, even if you don't just get on your knees, close your eyes, and pray. Actually get in the motion of praying. But when you ask the most high for a sign, you be like, why did this happen to me? Or should I do this or should I not do this? You gotta be calm and still and wait for the answer to occur, and it can come in any form. Just to increase your awareness. My advice would be to meditate. It's a very good awareness heightener. So you can see things in different ways, and when you're looking for an answer, it's not like you gotta sit literally look hard. You just be calm and wait for the answer to come to you. Like it'll come in its rarest form. It could come through a person. It could come through something you see on TV. It could come through something you read in a book. It could come through anything, like something you hear on the radio.
All right.
Or anything. So you want to just, if you ask for something, just expect an answer. Expect an answer. Like you don't have to look super hard for it. Just expect it to come to you, and it will.
Okay. What about how would you approach somebody that maybe when they see something like that, like the Most High answering prayers, somebody who may not have a belief or faith in something? I mean, this obviously these things still can work for them, but how would you approach somebody like that may not have a belief in something?
That's a really good question. I feel like even people who don't believe that there is a higher power working in their favor, they believe in something. So even if it's not, you don't believe in something working in your favor, most people like that, they tend to and I'm just speaking from an opinion wise because I really don't know, but I figure that most people like that always think that the bad things that happen to them are that's supposed to happen to them, but they don't know that something higher is working in their favor. So no matter what happens to you, that it's always for your better good. So I feel like approaching someone like that, it could kind of be it could be a difficult task to kind of and try to instill something in someone who doesn't believe in it. But I can honestly say that even if you don't believe in a higher power, then then they probably believe in like I was saying, they probably believe that everything that's bad has happened to them is supposed to happen to them. But even if you don't believe in a higher power, you can still speak life, speak good, or speak positivity over your life. So I would just approach them by saying, hey, this doesn't have anything to do with the Most High. This has everything to do with yourself. And only when you find yourself and love and care for yourself do you find the Most High. So I would say that it starts with you. So even if you don't believe in the Most High, still love yourself. Still speak positivity over your life, and maybe you might start believing, because that's what leads you to that is starting to focus on yourself.
Yeah. All right. And what you put out into the universe comes back to me. Now that can definitely go both ways, obviously, positive and negative. So let's touch on a little bit of that, of what you mean when you say that.
So just as words are positive, just as words are affirmations over your life, and they can speak life, you can speak life or death over your own life. You can also do that through your actions and through your intention. So like if you say something with the negative intent, then you're going to draw negativity back towards you. But it's all about your intentions behind what you do or what you say. So if you say something with positive intent, that's how it comes back to you. And this is a form of manifestation. So you first start with a thought, then it starts with the intention, then it turns into words, and then it turns into action. So whatever your thought is, make sure that it's good intent behind it if you want the universe to return positivity into your life. But if there's negative thoughts, then it leads to negative intentions, then it leads to negative speaking, and then it leads to negative things. So that's what you're going to attract back. That's what the universe is going to give to you. But the universe is working for you, so it's not going to tell you whether something is right or wrong, or it's not going to say whether you should do this or you shouldn't do this. It's just gonna return to you what you put out to it.
Going off your own yourself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see. Now let's break down to being aligned with the universal elements: water, air, fire, earth.
Mm-hmm.
It actually reminded me of that. What's the movie?
Was it Avatar?
Well, that's one of them. And then Fifth Element. You ever seen that?
No, I never seen that.
Because they were after those elements, and then.
Mm-hmm. Oh, matter of fact, I've seen something like that.
Oh, Captain Planet too.
Captain Planet.
It reminds me of that. Why is that important, and what do you mean when you say that, being aligned with those elements?
So, if you believe in astrology, there's you got your fire signs, you got your water signs, you got your air signs, and you got your earth signs. So what that means is all of these placements on the birth chart are aligned with these specific elements. But they can also just because you're born in one element doesn't mean you can't tap into the rest of them, the other three.
Right.
So like I'm a fire sign, so usually fire is more about passion, like having a passion towards things. And then when you talk about water, that's talking about your feminine or your more emotional side, being in tune with your emotions. And then when you talk about earth, they're typically logic, and they have a passion for like material things and manifesting things in the material world. So in order to do that, you have to be right within. So earth signs are really logical when they make decisions. And then you got air, and they talk about being balanced. So all of these things are elements that you want to have in your life, not necessarily the fire or the earth or the water, thinking about it as that, but looking at it in a deeper sense, as to what they actually mean, as far as like balance, being in fire with your emotional self, being having passion for things, and then just your logic. So that's how I look at that.
Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense now. All right, so touch on patience a little bit, and let's explain calmness is power.
So patience was the most important thing for me, and patience is an everyday thing. Let me do this. Anyway, patience is an everyday thing. It's like something you work on every single day. Like like I actually did a patience meditation yesterday because I was like, man, so many things coming at me.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, like this is really getting on my nerves. But I gotta understand that. What I had to understand as far as patience was that as long as I have that, things outside of me won't be able to have control over my emotions and how I feel.
Right.
So I'm gonna always be in control of that as far as patience goes. So, and when I say having a stillness or a calmness to you is that's how you're able to work through things without letting your emotions drive your decisions. And also you're able to hear the Most High and hear the universe speaking to you. When you're calm and when you're still, that's when you get most of your answers, is when you can, be calm and when you can be still. So that's what I meant by that.
Okay. And we'll jump into peace, because you talk about fear, anger, anxiety becoming a normal part of society. And society is a lot different nowadays. I mean, there's always elements of the same things in each generation, but you kind of see a lot of stuff more in this generation. It just kind of seems like we're declining morally. It seems like, and this has a lot to do with it, of people not being at peace either with themselves or they have something else going on. Just talk about why you feel that that's becoming normal, and why do you think that is, and how could people kind of get out of that?
So I'm what you call a like a conspiracy theorist. So I believe that social media, TV, radio, anything media wise, as far as our generation being a more like technical generation, and everything starting to become so technical, it controls the way that we see things, and it controls the way that how we feel. It controls how we feel about ourselves, how we feel towards certain things. It controls a lot, and then escaping that matrix is what will help you to start dwelling more on yourself, like start to realize more things about yourself. But I think that society is controlled by the technical side of it, and a lot that we see and a lot that we do has a lot to do with what the media is showing us and how they portray things to be. So we accept that as our own. We accept that as our own normal, and we follow it. Yeah. So I feel like that's why society is being controlled by so strongly and on a higher rate now. As far as the generations go on, is because of the technical side of it, and how we use social media and how we use the radio, and how we watch TV and everything, how we understand it. It manipulates our brains into thinking that we got to be like a certain type of way, even if you're not like super depressed, or you like and it's not controlling your emotions. It still makes you think that you got to have this or have that to be a certain type of way, or this is what being rich looks like, or this is what success looks like. It's being able to control our perception of those things, instead of us having our own understanding of what those things mean to us.
Yeah, that makes sense. How could like if you look at the times now when we have this whole COVID stuff going on, and whether people believe it 100% real or partly real and overhyped or whatever they believe about it, because stuff like that, when it's constantly pumped out there, and that does cause a lot of fear and anxiety. I mean, there's people that's scared to leave the house.
Yes.
And,
know, I know a couple of people.
I mean, how could they? I mean, what could people like that do when to them it's just like something real? Or I mean, I'm not saying it's fake, but to them it's like, oh my God, the news is saying this. Like, how could they deal with that and still live, as normal as they can live without having the extra fear and anxiety? Like, what could they do to kind of counter that?
So during the whole COVID, right, like I kind of brushed it off as being fake until I actually caught it, and I was, but I caught it and I was fine, and I didn't even get sick or anything. I lost my sense of taste and smell, which so that made me kind of look at it. Okay, I can't write it off as fake now because it's actually real, but you don't have to be scared of it. Like, so my advice to people that are actually like in fear behind it, you don't have to be scared. There's nothing to be scared of. Like, I just feel like continue your life as you normally would, and just have faith that this is where having a belief in a higher power comes into play, because that your higher power isn't what you be scared of anything. And if you have faith in the higher power, then you know that you're covered regardless. Like, I just feel like people, I mean, take precaution and be as safe as you can, but still try to live your life on normal terms, and don't let that fear kind of restrict you and keep you stuck, keep you in a state of depression, or keep you in a place of anxiety. Because once it starts to do that, then that's when it's messing with it's messing with you as a personal, on a personal level, and you don't want to take it too personal. It's just I feel like when it starts to bother you on a personal level, that's when you gotta kind of check it and be like, okay, I'm blowing this whole thing out of proportion, because it's like you don't want to having you anxiety, have you staying up late nights, or having you being worried, like on a constant state of worry. So I just feel like people should take precaution, and that's the best you can do. Like, there's nothing else you can do but take precaution. So there's no need to be scared of it.
Yeah. Be safe as you can, but still trying to live.
Yeah.
All right, now touch on purpose too in the book, and just explain to somebody who maybe feels like their life doesn't have purpose. So just explain to them, how would you uplift them and get them to realize that they do have purpose and how they can possibly link with it?
So, when I'm selling my books, I have this slogan, if you would call it, or just like it's a sales pitch really, but it's really the truth. It's actually how I feel. So it goes like this. I would say, so my name is Destiny. I have a self-care book about healing. In the book, I talk about healing with the 4 P's. The first P is patterns, because in order to heal, we have to change the way we do things. The second P is patience, because when we're trying to change, we got to be patient with ourselves. The third P is peace, because when you're patient, you invite peace into your life. And for me, all 3 of those P's let me right into my purpose. So what I mean by that is that when you change the way you do things, you know, by as far as changing your patterns, change the way you think, change the way you act, change the way you speak. And then you are patient with yourself while you're doing those things. Being in a state of still and calmness, and you being in control of your own emotions, and being in control of your own state of being. That leads you to peace. And when you're at peace with everything, it makes life a whole lot easier. It makes you be able to approach situations from a calm state and from a state of peace, instead of, you know, from a state of anxiousness or anxiety or everything. And those are normal feelings. Everybody goes through them, but you got to know how to work through them. And then when you got all three of those P's, it will lead you into questioning your purpose. Like when you start to change the way you do things, start to be patient with yourself, and then start to be at peace, it'll give you a sense of stability, and then it makes you start to question, like, okay, what, like, it makes you start to wonder what your purpose is in life. It pushes you into that mode of just discovery, like discovering yourself, like discovering things that you didn't know you could do, or looking into things that you wouldn't normally look into. So it leads you into questioning your purpose, or, you know, it leads you into questioning certain things about life, and then all of those things in return could just have you knocking on your purpose's door, like, what you know, it just leads you to questioning a lot, and then you start to figure out, you'll want to figure out more and more about yourself, and you know, your abilities and what you can do creatively and everything like that.
Okay. So with this book, once you were going through what you were going through, and you said so you started to write, you know, just for yourself. You were saying. Now, what made you want to turn it into a book and you know, come out with that?
So when I've been a writer all my life. My mom would always tell me, like, you're so super good at writing, you know, and I never looked at it like that. It was just one of those outlets for me. Like, you know how people say music is their outlet, or how art is their outlet. Like, writing was just that outlet for me. It's always been that outlet. Even as far as I took it to the next level and started to write music and everything, it was just always an outlet for me. So when I started writing, I was just, you know, I was still going through the motions. You know, that book, I wrote that book in 2020, like around this time, it's last year. And I was still going through the motions, like, though, like, of healing. Like, I was still trying to let things go. I was still trying to get over things. And like I said, this was a long journey because it started in 2018. But I was still trying to release things, and I was still, you know, every day was just a new chapter for me as far as healing went. So I started to write about it, and I was like, it just poured out of me. It was like the Most High literally placed it on my brain to write these specific things. Like when I started writing about the 4 P's and everything like that, I had no idea that it would turn out in that order. It just kind of came out, like, you know, and it was just like the way that it came out, I was like, the dialogue of it, I was like, this has to be a book, because, like,